the series and gives your team so much confidence heading into the next 2 games. And they've had some huge wins, like UCF swept UCF, got 2 big wins over Arizona State. Just competing very well in the Big 12. They're up to 3rd in the standings, so putting themselves in a really good spot heading into postseason.
No doubt is that ball is spun foul, and leading things off for the Cowgirls here in the bottom of the 2nd inning is the catcher, Amanda Hassler, the junior. And I think she did the same thing yesterday. Yesterday she was a designated player. Ball hit off the, may have been Godwin, they got one of those, but either way, it looked like it hit the batter, but it actually hit the knob of the bat. And that's strike 2. Ralston's done a good job early in this one and continues to do a good job as she gets the strikeout. Hassler, big cut at this one, even with 2 strikes.
Ralston looks like a rise ball, a little bit out of the zone. She just bites at it, swings underneath it. I think so far in this game, Oklahoma State not making any adjustments from yesterday. As we've talked about, their discipline was just not there yesterday. They're swinging out of the zone so much, and so far today have done that already a few times. So I'm sure in their dugout just trying to change the approach and the mindset at the plate.
Claire Tim will get her opportunity, and she is down 0-2. And as you said, letting strikes go by, swinging at balls out of the zone, and that's just not a good combination. And you know, that's again probably a great credit to what we're seeing from Iowa State pitching. They've done a good job of keeping the Cowgirls off balance. The 0-2, and there's back-to-back strikeouts for Ralston, her 2nd of the ball game. Again, looks like a rise ball out of the zone.
Yeah, again, Ralston coming in with 2 quick strikes on the outer half, and this pitch just way out of the zone. Fools Claire Tim, gets her to swing underneath it for another strikeout. And 100% credit to the Iowa State defense and the pitching staff and their pitching coach, and just putting a good plan together and following it to a T.
And Cheese that time does draw the hit by pitch and just caught her on the inside elbow, I believe. We'll take a look and see if that's exactly, in fact, where he got her. It did, just caught the inside elbow, and so Cheese will go to first, and that'll bring up Tia Warsup, who had a good day yesterday, 2 of 4 for Oklahoma State. Shows bunt, fouls it back, and Cheese was headed second. Looked like that was definitely a hit and run situation for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, definitely a good opportunity to get Megan Delgadillo, who's super fast on the bases, over to second base with 2 outs. And early in the game, makes sense to try to get her over to second and get runner into scoring position.
Warsup out of Northampton, England. And she takes strike 2. So behind 0-2. Talk about it throughout the course of the game, I'm sure, but don't have a runner in scoring position. But with runners in scoring position, the Cowgirls have just not been very good this year. And there's another terrific play. Trice flipped to Bartholomew, stepped out, and that's how the inning ended in the last half, with the Cowgirls making almost the exact same play. Iowa State still on top by 1. Big 12 matches. Their schedule this year, speaking of Oklahoma State, has been absolutely brutal as Tatum Johnson flies out to center field. They're not afraid to play anybody.
That's exactly right. I'm pretty sure the first 2 weeks of the season they had the toughest schedule in the nation. And just Coach G every single year is going to set his team up to play the best teams, because facing the best arms and the best offenses in the country only prepares the team for what's going to come down the road.
When you were playing and you knew the schedule was brutal, were you excited? And were you more excited than if you were playing this team that you knew you were going to run through 5?
Definitely more excited to play in those games against really good competition.
That ball flared to second. Calling her off is Worsup, who moved to right in for Tim. And that was a last-minute call-off, and Rosie Davis bowed out, and that's a heck of a play by Worsup.
Worsup got a great jump on this shallow pop-up, just sprints in, I think calling Rosie off at the very last second, just in enough time. Great play by the outfielder. She has a much better angle and vision to go catch that ball.
So 2 gone here, and that one is fouled back by Jessie Clemens.
But yeah, back to the games against the tough opponents are obviously so much more fun than the easy games, because if you want to be the best, you have to play against the best, and you have to rise up to that, and you want to be playing the best competition in the country.
That one is hit into the gap. Clemens gets her for a 5th hit of this series, and that's going to be a stand-up double as she hit that right between Cheese and Hathoot. As we take another look at this one right here. I mean, she just barreled it up, went down low and got it, right?
Yeah, went down and got that pitch and just kind of placed it perfectly in between the left fielder and center fielder. Just continuing her hot streak, another double. Seeing the ball so well this series so far.
Coming to Oklahoma State, you know you're going to play that kind of a schedule. I think that would be almost attractive to recruits as well, that, hey, we're going to go out there, contend with everybody, and that's going to make us ready to go if we can get to Oklahoma City.
100%. That's what makes it so fun to play for Oklahoma State. You know every single year you're going to be playing the best in the country.
That one is undercut by Bartholomew, and Godwin comes underneath it for out number 3. So a quick inning, although there was a double by Clemens. Still a 1-0 lead. Iowa State on top of the Cowgirls here in Stillwater.
The occasion, and they're a very scrappy team.
That's the very words I was about to say. They are just scrappy. They're blue collar. As we talked about, they don't necessarily have a great star. They don't have a superstar on this team necessarily, but they play so well together, connected. And he said, we're all about relationships. And, you know, they're playing like a team that is connected. Now, I want to go back to yesterday in that 7th inning. They had the communication. They had the center fielder, Johnson, had the ball, and she was actually undercut by Haley Oliver. And I asked him about that this morning, and he said, we work on those things a lot. We talk about communication. There was no communication in that play. It was followed up by a play where it looked like the ball was going to be caught by the shortstop, Bartholomew. She had lost it in the sun, and by the time Johnson, the center fielder, had come in, it was too late for her to get to that ball. All of that to say, they really put Oklahoma State a chance to win that game. But when it was all said and done, they came back and won it. And I go back to what he told us. We have only practiced outside 5 days all year long. It's hard to be connected in the outfield if you don't have a chance to work together more than 5 times outside.
I totally agree. Coming from myself, where I played at a school that it was freezing majority of the year, we had to practice inside the first few months of the season, and you're in a field house, not getting a ton of practice with fly balls, and fly ball communication is huge. It almost cost them the game yesterday. They had 2 pretty big mistakes on the fly balls, and the lack of communication causing that. But that is such an advantage that Oklahoma State has. They practice outside pretty much all year round and get to work on those things every single day. 9
California kids, as Chris and I were just talking about. I mean, they're used to working outside most of the time, but not. Talon Edwards thought she had a lot of walks yesterday. At least 3 different times she started to throw the ball down back to the dugout and walk, and they were called strikes. Not the case this time. She does get the walk, so she's at first with 1 gone, and that brings up the ever-dangerous Rosie Davis, who's 1-0, or 1 for 1 rather, on the day. And she takes ball 2, 2-0. There is some activity in the Iowa State bullpen. Coach told us, listen, we piecemeal it together. Ralston came in as a reliever yesterday, starting today, and he's not afraid to move pitches around as that one's fouled back.
Coming into the game today, I definitely expected to see more than just 1 arm in the circle for Iowa State and Oklahoma State as well. We know Ralston threw 4 innings yesterday, so I expected her to come in, get through the lineup maybe once or twice, and then hand it over to someone else.
Rosie Davis hits one to the wall. Talon Edwards going to stop at third, and that's probably a good call. It looked initially like she might be able to turn it off of the double, but that throw was fantastic back home, and so probably a good stoppage at third. But let's take a look at this one.
This is almost the exact same hit that Rosie Davis had her first time at the plate, taking the low away pitch into right center field. Great job just letting the ball get deep and shooting it the opposite way. I really like how she has that opposite field approach, not trying to do too much and pull an outside pitch. And she's been very successful today.
Great job there. Now Cowgirls have 2 on the bags. 1 out, runners in scoring position. And Michaela Wark rather, this time does get hit by pitch. And this brings up a very interesting statistic in Big 12 softball. The Cowgirls, when the bases are loaded in the Big 12 this year, have not been very good.
Yeah, we're looking at the numbers a little earlier today, and the Cowgirls just 1 for 14 with the bases loaded in the Big 12 conference. Seems like they just need to find a way in these high pressure situations with runners in scoring position to get it done and get something through the infield.
That is to say they're due is a little crazy as Coach Pinkerton comes out and wants to talk things over. Not sure if he thought for sure that ball fully hit Godwin or maybe hit the bat. Not sure what that conversation was, but nonetheless, the bases are loaded. 1 gone for Oklahoma State, and the ever dangerous Carly Godwin coming up for Oklahoma State. Godwin's got 22 RBI on the season. She does have 4 home runs as well. Big opportunity to get the Cowgirls on the board, and that one is hit, and it's a slow roller to Trice, and they will get the throw, and the ball gets away at third, the throw, and that's going to allow their runners to advance, and the Cowgirls are going to put 2 on the board. So an RBI for Godwin on the ground out, and then the Cowgirls are going to score another on the air, possibly on the throw to third, and the Cowgirls lead it 2-1 as we take a look and recap what we just saw.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you put the ball in play and good things are going to happen. This hit to the right side of the field, a little too soft to get the out at home plate. So second baseman Trice getting the out at first, but the errant throw across the diamond allowing Rosie Davis to also score.
So great job by Rosie to get back in time. Then the throw gets away from Malott, and Rosie Davis uses her speed, comes home, and the Cowgirls take a 2-1 lead. And now a conversation is going to be held in the circle for Iowa State, and the Cowgirls will gather as well. So the Cowgirls still 1 for 15 now when it comes to hitting with bases loaded, but the result of that one much different.
Yeah, Carly Godwin just pushing that ball, I think, to the right side a little, well, I guess just enough to get something going and get a run in, get the Cowgirls on the board. And that's something that they just need to do, is just put the ball in play, make some things happen. They took a walk, got hit by a pitch, got some runners on, were able to do some things, and it worked out.
Yeah, a hot shot back to Trice. She comes home, gets the force, but that thing just trickled to her, and it was so far to her left that it took her a while to get there, but she did get the force at first. Again, the throw back across the diamond allowed the Cowgirls to get another. So the Cowgirls now have 1 runner on, 2 gone, with a 2-1 lead for the catcher, Amanda Hassler. And she takes ball 1. Count even at 1-1. Hassler struck out her last time up. And so Ralston started very, very strong, but defense gave up 1 on her there. She gave up 1 on her own, and the Cowgirls back to a 1-0 lead. The thing with Iowa State, though, yesterday is they responded well. Both teams seem to respond pretty well to scoring by the other team. Cowgirls got the home run by Rosie Davis in the bottom of the first. Then they were able to come right back and get a couple of runs themselves, and back and forth we went, but both teams responded pretty well. Here's the 3-1, and that's a walk.
Yeah, and Iowa State has had runners on every inning so far. They've gotten at least one hit in every inning so far. So their offense, I think, still very confident at this point in the game. It's only the bottom of the third right now, and they've been getting some offense going. So I'm sure they're going to be excited to come up in the top of the fourth.
And let's see, another conversation being had now with Coach Pinkerton and the home plate umpire, Robert Gonzalez. And we are going to have a pitching change. So they will bring in a new pitcher, and we'll talk about this young lady in just a minute. But let's go and get a break. Cowgirls have put 2 on in the bottom of the third. They lead it 2-1 here in Stillwater.
Righties and trying to get some ground outs for her team.
Rachel Hathood, who came into left field for Warsup, who had moved over to right, is getting her first at-bat of the day. Takes the first pitch for a ball, swings at the second, and it's 1-1 here in Stillwater. Good crowd again today. It's a little more than yesterday. Again, it's just an odd start time with so much going on. Cowgirls have had a good crowds all year long here at home. And that one is laid down beautifully, and they got her. Great job by Ford to get that flip and then make a tag out at her correct name. Misspoke the first time, but I've got it figured out now. And you know why? Because she's given me no choice. That young lady has been phenomenal this week. Malott
with 3 home runs in her last 3 times up to bat, I believe. She had the 2 in the game yesterday, 1 today. Definitely not going to throw her anything up and in the rest of the series.
Rosie Davis takes one that's lined hard to her left. That's another shot by Malott, but Rosie Davis able to get to her left and get the catch.
Malott squaring this one up to the right side of the field, but Rosie Davis with a pretty athletic play at second base, going up, making the catch. Big out for the Oklahoma State defense, especially after putting up those 2 runs.
And keep in mind, again, the first ever appearance inside Cowgirl Stadium for Riley Crandall, and they've now stretched her into the 4th inning of work, and starting to see her start to look like early in the year kind of what they were hoping for. As Carly Ford, the catcher, drew that walk and takes ball 2. Had a walk in the second, back-to-back walks. In fact, Ford and Nosen, but a strikeout and a ground out got Riley Crandall out of that inning. And now a little conversation is not sure what that conversation is, but a little stoppage in play for a moment. And everybody satisfied. We get back to it. Here's the 2-0. That one is fouled back. A lot of balls fouled back off the opposite side of the batter. Tells you Crandall's speed, they've had a hard time catching up to her.
She does throw with good velocity in the mid to upper 60s and throws a lot of curve and rise, which are just going to tail off the bat.
That time they caught up to it, but Warsup was able to catch up to it too. She had to get going, and she did, and was able to track that one down on the run just before the warning track. She's made a couple of terrific plays out there as Warsup today.
I was going to say, too, started over in left field and then moved her over to right and has made 2 great catches. The one coming in all the way close to second base and that one going back, just doing a good job holding it down and right.
So 2 away here in the top of the 4th for Isabel Nosen, the designated player. Walked her first time up, batting .217 on the season. That one's hit right into left field and back. Well, a lot of conversation going on between Hathood and Cheese, but ultimately the pair figured it out, saying they got out number 3. We go to the bottom of the 4th. Cowgirls with a 2-1 lead. This is Big 12 on ESPN+. 1 in their regional and supers in the last 5 years. They've only lost 1 game in all of those, and so If it ended right now, the Cowgirls would probably have to go on the road for the Supers if they got out of their regional.
Most likely. And Iowa State with a good opportunity to boost their RPI this weekend against Oklahoma State. And I love the use of the RPI because it factors in the strength of schedule to reward the teams that are playing difficult schedules. So like Oklahoma State is 14 right now, and Iowa State is all the way down at 70 because of the tough schedule that they played before the conference season started.
Undoubtedly, that is a pure reflection of the strength of schedule as Megan Delgadillo. Cheese hit by pitcher first time up in the bottom of the fourth. Yeah, this is a batting .342, by the way, does a great job of kind of starting that bottom part of this order and lineup. But the RPI, those numbers, even though the Cowgirls have lost some of those games, as we mentioned earlier, 7-7 versus top 25 teams, that is a pure reflection of the strength of schedule that they've had this season, which has been phenomenal. There's a slap, and you see the speed of Cheese, and she almost beat that out, but good job in the circle there by Hune to make the play. So one away here in the bottom of the fourth. Cheese might have came back limping just a little bit here. Oh, she got hit in the head.
Yeah.
And that kind of threw her off her balance a little bit.
Shaking up a little bit.
So that'll bring up Tia Warsup. Grounded out her first time, and that ball is in there. Just got out of the box. Now she's going to try to turn it into two. And no, he started to say safe, and then he called her out, and she was barely safe at first, and then she gets thrown out at second, and the Cowgirls are going to review this. They tell her to stay right where she's at, but that's a heck of a throw by Poole.
I was just going to say, what a play by the right fielder, Poole. Tia Warsup trying to drop down a bunt, and Ford, I think, rushing her throw a little bit, sailed it. But the right fielder, Poole, in the perfect position behind first base to scoop it up and make the play at second.
Very close at first, and then very close at second. And the speed of Warsup is good, and so is that arm of Poole. As she, on the overthrow, turned to run. Poole, puts it right there, and, well, that is extremely close.
Very, very close. Let's see the tag.
I think that's the right call. Just by a fingernail, but I think that is the right call. Either way, it'll be awfully hard to overturn because it is so bang bang.
Yeah, that was a great job by, I believe that was Bartholomew at second base. Kind of a high throw up at her chest, but getting the tag down so fast right on Tia Warsop's hand. It's a fantastic play and a great way to clean up the errant throw by the catcher, Carly Ford.
No doubt about it. And, the other part of that is, too, I think part of the problem is it looked as if he had safe motion and turned it into out. And then you start questioning what he saw, which I think is why Kenny Gajewski decided to use one of his reviews challenges right here. But, again, just looking at it again, I think it is the right call. It is so close, but that is an incredible job right there by Iowa State to get that out. Warsup's only been caught stealing one time in her career. Tried to swipe second there, and the other thing that hurt her was she was running through the bag, and on the overthrow she was so deep because of her speed. By the time she turned, she had a long ways to go, and so they're going to talk it over and then let us know what that call is. I think that's the correct terminology, and I think it's the correct call.
And that just shows the importance of the backup by Poole in right field. It could have been runner on second with one out for Oklahoma State, but now bases are cleared and Iowa State defense has two outs. They're in a much better spot.
Changes everything for the freshman Abby Hune, who's in the circle, and her defense helping her out right there. It didn't initially, but then they did. That brings up Megan Bloodworth. 2 for 3 day yesterday. Had the RBI with a solo shot. And that one is going to be hit in the infield, and they just let it drop. No communication between the third baseman and Malott and Bartholomew, and I think they both thought they had it, and they just let it fall in front of them, and that is very characteristic of what we saw yesterday.
I wonder if the sun played a factor on this pop-up, just a high pop-up, straight up, right in between third, short, pitcher, and second. Somebody had to have had a better visual and angle to go catch that ball. I think Coach Pinkerton probably a little frustrated with his defense on these fly balls.
Well, because again, it looked to me like Malott had made the call, it's mine, I've got it, and then it drifted on her. Well, so Bartholomew is going to give her space, and in doing so, if you don't make that catch, it's going to fall. And unfortunately for Iowa State, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, those in-between pop-ups are always a little questionable. But somebody in the infield really just has to take charge and go make that catch. And in my opinion, that's probably the shortstop in that situation, or third baseman, whoever has a better angle with the sun and the wind. But
you know, Malott wasn't using her glove to try to shield the sun. It looked like she saw it, or at least it felt like she saw it. And then maybe there was 2 yellow spheres and she wasn't sure which one to go get, but it dropped in there, and that brings up Talon Edwards. The Cowgirls trying to make some noise here with 2 outs. It was officially scored in error. And interesting for the young lady in the circle of freshmen, and she's gets an overthrow at first. Looks like her defense has not helped her. Then Poole makes a terrific throw. It does help her. Then that happens. So again, her confidence and the way this thing's going, you could see where that might get a little bit frustrating, and I think that's why you see the walk that just happened. Talon Edwards gets her 2nd consecutive walk. And now runners at first and second for Rosie Davis, who's 2 for 2 on the day. Double, single, run, 370, and she's got home run power. 40 RBI on the season. Scary for the freshman right here. Rosie way out in front of that one. The off speed, pitched her a little backwards and gets ahead 0-1. Runners at first and second, 2 gone, big at bat. Another pivotal moment in the series, certainly in this game, and that's hit in the gap, and that is going to score Talon Edwards. And so all of that eventually does result in a run for Oklahoma State. The Cowgirls make them pay for a couple of mistakes out there. And Oklahoma State has runners at first and second. So Rosie Davis 3 for 3 with an RBI single.
Now Rosie Davis coming through again, taking this pitch a little up in the zone and just driving it through the 5-6 hole. Not trying to do too much and getting something going for the Cowgirls. And Rosie Davis now hitting coming into today, hitting .417 with runners in scoring position. So she is the one that is getting those clutch hits for the Oklahoma State offense.
Undoubtedly she is, and she's now got 41 RBIs on the season as Michaela Wark spins that one into the net. That one is hit to third. It gets by the third baseman. The throw to first, not in time. So Michaela Wark is able to get there. They tried to get the force at third, but Malott couldn't hang on to it. Rolled over the top of her glove, and the Cowgirls are safe with another bases loaded situation.
This hard hit ground ball off the glove of Malott, and Bartholomew almost making an incredible play behind her. What a throw across the diamond, but there's just not enough time in softball with the bases being only 60 feet. It's just being that deep in the 5-6 hole is almost impossible to throw a runner out from that deep, but really good effort by the shortstop trying to clean up. The ball going off of Malott's glove.
So the Cowgirls were back to this situation before where they're 1 for 15 with bases loaded in Big 12 situations this season. And that one is skipped in there for Carly Godwin. Again, I talked about this again. You get a freshman in the circle, should already be out of this inning. But instead, she's having to throw a lot more pitches to the middle of the order for Oklahoma State. And that's got to be unnerving for anybody, especially a young lady that has 6 decisions on the season. But a great job right there as that one is hit to first. Clemens over, and they do get out of the jam. Cowgirls' woes continue with bases loaded in Big 12 play. But the Cowgirls get one. They litter for the Iowa State Cyclones. Paige Nakashima, young lady out of Hawaii, James Campbell High School. Behind early here on the count to Crandall, 0-2. Given what we talked about with Crandall and just now stretching her and giving her the ability to stretch the innings and the amount of time worked, got to be impressed with what Riley Crandall's done here so far today.
Crandall has come out and besides the home run to Malott has done very well, only given up a few hits, keeping Iowa State to just 1 run.
And Nakashima is going to be called out as we take a look at the strikeout pitch.
This pitch by Crandall, a little low and away. Definitely on the corner there as a batter. That's a tough one, but with 2 strikes, you just have to do your best to fight that off and not leave it up to the umpire.
So another strikeout on the day for Crandall. That's her 3rd today. And are we getting ready to make a change? We are. So despite the efforts by Riley and pitching really well, we talked about it. They have a plan and they've stuck to it. Even though things are going well for her, they're being very cautious and stretching her, and they don't want her to go too far. We'll talk more about that on the other side of the timeout. Great start in her first ever start for the Cowgirls for Riley Crandall in the circle.
From Trice to get something going off a new pitcher.
Tatum Johnson will step in for Iowa State and takes ball 1. Katie Coots on the year, 7-4, 4.43 ERA. Pitched 55 1/3. She's a bodybuilder, competes in that as well, and does her own nutrition and takes all of that very seriously. And quite honestly, when you look at her size, you wouldn't think necessarily that she is a young lady who can throw with as much fierce power as she can, as you see Johnson 0 for 2 today. But I think part of that bodybuilding is what helps her be able to throw with the velocity that she throws with.
She has a ton of strength and power, and just that's why she's able to throw in the upper 60s.
She blew that one by Johnson. 2-1 the count with 1 gone. And Riley Crandall had pitched very well. They must have had her on a batter faced, batter through the lineup, or pitch count. Something in there was the triggers. That one gets by Hassler, and there goes Trice to second. So a runner in scoring position here for Iowa State.
Yeah, I'm thinking the plan coming into today was to let Riley Crandall throw 2 times through the order and then put Katie Coots in and let her finish the game. And Riley Crandall did her job exactly, only giving up 1 run. Had a very good outing.
And Kenny Gajewski talking over some alignment changes. So we'll see what this looks like. More activity in the bullpen for the Cowgirls. Ruby Malin down there. I believe Catherine Ogg as well. is throwing. It is. So lots of activity here. And let's see what Oklahoma State's going to do here. They will put in a new catcher after that ball got by Hassler. Schneidmiller will come in, and that's the thing about Schneidmiller. She's probably the better defensive catcher between the two. Hassler's the better offensive player, and we've seen those two platoon a lot throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, they both have been mixing in a ton, and Schneidmiller getting a lot of starts this season behind the dish because she is so good back there. She blocks everything and has an amazing arm, gets a ton of people out on the bases. She's a very good defensive catcher.
So 3-1 count here to Johnson. And she hits that one. It's a soft spot over the top of Bloodworth, and that'll be a single with runners at the corners and one gone here for Katie Coots and the ever-dangerous Angelina Allen coming up. So Iowa State trying to make some noise and scratch and claw and get those, at least one or maybe both those runs back here in the top of the fifth. Schneidmiller calling defensive signals.
Now batting the left fielder, number 23.
We're going to see Johnson at second or first try to swipe second here at some point. And the first pitch to Allen out of the zone.
And the Cowgirls defense right now pinched in. Looks like they're going to try and cut the runoff at home instead of trying to turn a double play up the middle.
Foul back. Allen, you could hear the grunt and the exhale as she swung and made contact and almost frustrated with herself mid-swing. Another good ball game. This has been a terrific series for these two teams. Iowa State got game one. There's a strike. They had some blunders and nearly gave it away. They finished it, and they have been, as you said multiple times already over the last couple of broadcasts, they're scrappy, and they're continuing to be scrappy here with a 1-2. That's a big out right there. That's a great job by Katie Coots battling Allen and getting that strikeout for out number 2. Let's take a look.
Katie Coots coming back in a 1-2 count. This pitch on the upper outer half. I think Angelina Allen's eyes probably lit up when she saw that pitch, trying to take that into left center, but Katie Coots able to sneak it by, and that's a huge out for her defense.
This will be an interesting battle here. Jessie Clemens has 5 hits out of 6 ABs on the series, and last time up she had a double. Katie Coots will get that challenge. Again, 1 for 2 today, 25 RBI on the season, batting .380. Is the freshman, and she takes a strike there. Katie bounces a lot at the start of that delivery, but when it's all said and done, that motion gets zeroed in straight towards the plate, and there is some velocity. She moves it up pretty up and well. She's got some vertical separation.
Definitely does.
But she is, she's a little dynamic little pitcher for Oklahoma State. Here's the 1-2, big pitch. A swing and foul back by Clemens.
Yeah, Katie Coots, a lot of the times against righties, we're going to see her throwing a drop curve. They call it a cutter, and it pretty much just cuts down and away from the righties, and it's super effective in getting them to ground out to the right side of the field.
And there it is right there, a strikeout, the first of the day for Katie Coots, actually the second in a row for Katie Coots. The Cowgirls holding on to a 2-run lead. It's 3-1 in Stewart, but they were good enough in their pitching and their offense, and so put all that together, and that's just how they've survived and have been able to be as scrappy as they have been.
Exactly. That's exactly what Coach Pinkerton said. They've won a lot of games being good at 2 out of the 3, but if they're able to be consistent, put all 3 together, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with for sure.
Schneidmiller is going to ground out, and that'll be the first out of the bottom of the 5th. and came in just a minute ago behind the plate for Hassler and hit for her as well. And now the left fielder, Hathout, who came in as well, reached on a fielder's choice. Hitting .227 on the season, spins that one back into the backstop, strike one. We were talking yesterday about the chemistry and coach wanting this team to take another step. You were a transfer in here, and he feels like this team likes each other and they do enough together. But how does chemistry get developed? Again, you came in with 1 year left, and I know initially that might have been difficult for you to be a team leader, right? You're new to the process, but you're an upperclassman. How did your team come together so well with team chemistry?
Chemistry is super, super important, and as a transfer, you're coming from totally different environment, different philosophies, different coaching styles, just completely different expectations across the board. So it's on the coaches and your teammates to bring you in and just, tell you the way that things work. And luckily, when I came in, we did the program right away, which was that.
Now the Cowgirls nearly got a program. That's a home run inside the foul pole. Sound the horn. Hathout goes yard for Oklahoma State, and boy, did she do that at just the right time. And I mean, she got every ounce of that ball, spinning it into left field.
Rachel Hathout with a big swing on this pitch, right over the heart of the plate. She opens up, gets it right inside the foul pole. Just a great piece of hitting by Rachel Hathout.
I got to be honest, from our perspective, it looked like it went left of that foul pole, but Kenny Gajewski said immediately was inside, and the third base umpire said the same thing. So the parallax error that we have is just enough for us not to be able to see that, but she absolutely smoked that ball. They may go back, they're going to review it and make sure, again, purely from our perspective.
Iowa State is challenging the rule of a home run on the field.
This is going to be very interesting.
Previous play is under a review.
My apologies, Mr. Gonzalez, but from here it looked left, and it is right on.